Hello, welcome back to the Schamrock-Festival of Women Poets 2020. Willkommen zurück zum Schamrock-Festival 2020, das 5. Festival der Dichterinnen, nach wie vor und immer noch das einzige weltweit. Ich begrüße jetzt hier über Zoom aus London zugeschaltet Christine Yohannes, Dichterin, Journalistin gebürtig aus Addis Abeba. Sie lebt aber hauptsächlich in Nairobi, arbeitet dort für die BBC als Journalistin und ist in verschiedenen Feldern tätig, covert aber vor allem afrikanische Themen und mit dem Schwerpunkt Ostafrika. Das ist auch der Beginn unseres Ostafrika-Schwerpunkts sozusagen. Wir haben einen größeren äthiopischen Schwerpunkt, auf den wir am Sonntag zurückkommen werden. Wir werden feststellen, dass es dort eine überaus große und sehr lebendige Poetry-Szene gibt. Aber ebenso werden wir nachher gleich anschließend einen Blick werfen auf ein Land, das die meisten von uns nicht im Blick haben, nämlich Eritrea. This is the beginning of our East African focus. We greet Christine Yohannes from London right now, but she's actually from Addis but based in Nairobi. Journalist, poet, writer, essayist, working for the BBC, among other things, and covering all matters Africa, specializing on matters East Africa. She might correct me about this if we have a brief talk later. So I met her through some friends in Addis who recommended me to her. The other way around, her to me, and hopefully the other way around too. So here we are, and let's start away with a few poems of yours. You're going to read one in your mother tongue, I suppose, and but you will translate it yourself, and the rest of the poems that you'll be reading will be in English.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's an honor to actually be on the same platform with all of these other women poets as well. You were perfectly right in the introduction. It is what I do, and that is the main, patch of land of my focus for work. I always like saying that I am a poet first, hence why I'm here today. I have prepared a poem in my mother tongue, in Amharic, but I will read that towards the end of my readings. I've prepared 4 poems, including the Amharic one for today. I'm going to start off with the English ones. We can discuss as we go along. The first one, though I don't really title my poems, I've had to kind of like give you a name that summarizes the idea of the poem. And so the first one is My Hair is Not a Rebel. Here goes nothing. My hair is not a rebel. Trust me, it sleeps when I tell it to, sits, stands, and rolls on my order. I can make it hard, thick, just as much as I can make it soft to fall on one shoulder. It does what I tell it to whenever I tell it to do it. It is so obedient that once I give it the order, it won't change for shit. And in all honesty, sometimes it's too much to handle, so I just simply let it be. It's a part of my essence, encrypted in my DNA. It's a part of being me. I stand before you today, a determined voice, not a crack in my throat, to tell you that I love my hair. Dismissing my story based on the basis that I, according to you, have good hair is not fair. This black weight on my head has a story all its own. Had it been decades ago, would have gotten me disowned. And it's not like shit's changed, because what's good fucking hair to begin with? When you tell me how nice it looks, but teach me inadvertently to contain it. My hair is not a rebel. It's an army of warriors with my ancestors' blood written on each strand, ready to go to a war it didn't ask for, yet faithfully awaits my command. It's the forest that muffled the death of my ancestors on both sides. It beats the heart of my great-grandmothers that would not be taken for free rides. It's a pack of wolves ready to take a child as their own. It's a black panther that watches over me so I don't stand alone. It is the bear that dances with me, that guards from the cold to keep me warm. It is the calm Dead Sea collecting the souls of my ancestors for the upcoming storm. It is the vultures flying over my head, pointing towards the fire. It is the night sky that boasts the full moon and it doesn't retire. It is the snake, the spider, and everything in this world that is not right. It is. It is. Can't you see? It is nature in all of its might. My hair is not a rebel. I can curl, twist, braid, cornrow, and iron straight flat. I can throw up or let down, and I ain't a fucking dog that you can pat. I can put it in a bun, shorten, and even make it longer if I fucking please. So when I come with a lion's mane, don't fear it like it's some sort of a disease. It ain't sick, it ain't ill, and it's sure as hell not disobedient. So don't go behind my back talking about how crazy my hair is, because it's not lenient. Easy going by whose standards, though, because I didn't get the fucking memos. You must be judging the craziness of my hair based off of Garnier and Pantene marketing demos. But listen, why should I subjugate my hair to heat to make it look clean? Mind you, I said make it look clean. At this point, it doesn't matter if I don't wash it for weeks as long as it doesn't look mean. Why should I feel uneasy about the texture of my natural hair for your comfort? Our type of hair you debeautify with makeover shows, Jerry Springer and cops. Our type of hair you contort. My hair is not a rebel. It has every right to stand against the oppression you put it under. It has every right to run, flee, attack, and fight back, but never surrender, because it is a sign that is not only has a mind of its own, but a heartbeat. It bleeds each time it is scorned and refuses to be imprisoned to undergo heat, because it remembers those that have been burned alive for their difference, breathes freely for those that have been strangled, hung, and killed for their resistance. It resists in every form I make it morph into, because it's the only way it fights capitalism. It capitalizes on its ability to be okay with itself and break free from the ism. Simply put, it refuses to be named the good hair or a rebel, so it regularly trims away every single imposed label. No, my hair is not a rebel. My hair is not crazy. My hair isn't uncontainable. No, my hair is not impossible. My hair is not a petting zoo. My hair is not unstoppable. No, my hair is not resistant. My hair is not imposing. My hair is not an empty flattery. No, my hair is not a war zone. My hair is not a fight. My hair is not angry. No, my hair is not a rebel, but I am not my hair. So that was the first one. Should I keep going or do you have questions? That went on for a bit, didn't it? My poems tend to be a bit long. So should I keep going?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay. So the second one that I have for you is She Was. This one is slightly sad because it kind of talks about a lot of the realities that young women in our patch of land have to undergo most times. And rape is a topic that I tend to write about a lot because I feel like things need to change. So this is one of them. Before I move on, especially because of everything that's been happening with COVID, with the lockdown, there's been a lot of cases coming out all over the world, actually. And I think that it is something that requires attention. So here goes nothing. Write about girls, they said. Write about women, they said. That's all I want to write about until I'm dead. But there's so much to tell, so much to say, I wouldn't even be done on my funeral day. She was 6, 8, maybe 10 and grew up in Addis. She had a story similar to many that went like this. Pretend games and hide and seek played with cousins and the neighbor's kid until the day Pandora's box was cracked open from the lid. But most of the times it's fathers, uncles, older cousins, and or tutors. Another tragedy bound to happen in a culture that rapes to find suitors. Against instructions she told, but no one believed a word she said. Fathers kept fathering, cousins kept on playing, and the tutor kept getting paid. Her own mother, who sweat dripping labored for hours to bring her to the world, had told her to stop lying, not to tell a soul, and stop being a foolish little girl. Was it in the hope that she'd forget and somehow archive the file in a dead brain cell? Or was it for the pride and honor that she bought her daughter's train ride to hell? She was 12, 15, maybe 18, a teenage girl in a woman's body, flirts with teachers, sexually active, heck, even has herself a sugar daddy. Content that every moving dick wants to be between her thighs, she does the deed and constantly reminds herself to stop telling lies. Her mother was right. It never happened. But what's happening now? Confused, distressed, and cries herself to sleep, but stop being a foolish little girl is her vow. Who cares? She gets all the attention that she needs, gets out of trouble, and passes grades. And every time she knows she gets what what she needs to open her mouth, and her legs she spreads. Her own mother flirts left and right and lifts up her skirt, and only the train hadn't been through. So when she becomes the neighborhood bike, not telling a soul helped who? What is it that made her believe that it would be her daughter's only competitive advantage, that she silently taught her that her golden ticket was her vagina and not her brain from an early age? She was 22, 25, maybe 28, a working young woman with a ticking clock. She's been formatted to know her worth, show her value with her married cock. She went to a good school, comes from a middle-class family, has traveled with her parents or even a foreign boyfriend, and often speaks English fluently. The exposure allows her to hold a conversation, but never with herself, a topic she's left untouched like the Bible full of dust on an atheist's shelf. She has priorities now, so she wakes up each morning ready to be hunted and hunt, eager to find the one worthless enough to love her. Excuse me for being blunt. Her mother never taught her that there couldn't even be one that's worthy, not one that's pure enough to feed her passion and shower her body with kisses and love her deity. Was it because the mother didn't know any better, didn't believe in womanhood, or had she forgotten to teach her daughter that we are sacred land that bear children, or has she misunderstood? She was 30 something, an engaged woman. She knew she was fulfilled. She had reached her goal, had found a man. She wasn't alone and childless like those women who won't shut up. She wasn't like those women who wouldn't listen, not to scare the men away by fighting and standing up. She wasn't like those women stuck at desk jobs suing their bosses for harassment. She had climbed beds and the ladder. She was now married with no attachment. Her mother was proud. Her daughter had made it in this unfair man's world. She had the house, the car, the bank account to prove that she was no foolish little girl. And every time they gaze into each other's eyes, they remember to forget that day. Both silently agree that this is how a woman should get her way. Was it in denial that this was not an easy route to take, or were they both suffering from an infinite heartbreak? She was 40 something now, and her daughter comes back from school. At the back of her mind, she wonders if she's the fighting type or a fool. She wants to tell her to be stronger, but doesn't know how. She worries she'll be devastated to stand when everyone else will bow. She prays that no one cracked her lid and broke her heart. She wishes for a second chance at life, so she lives it through her daughter's start. The daughter doesn't understand the blank space in her mother's eyes. She wants to tell her daughter, but her own mother told her they were lies. So she doesn't know how to open up room for discussions she's never had. All she knows is that she's been labeled as the bad girl who's always been bad. Was it pride that she now sees staring at her daughter's face, or does she now understand that no amount of makeup can hide disgrace? So that was the second one. I did say it was a bit heavy. We can talk about it if you have questions. The third one is, it's a bit personal. It's more about me. So yeah, here it goes. You do not know where I come from, so it gives you no right to scrutinize my name. I do not have an Ethiopian one, and no, I didn't change it to sound European or for fame. You see me, and the first thing you notice is that I am a young Ethiopian woman, and that I am. I will not deny my major origin. It will be like saying that I'm a man, which I'm not. But would you know what other mixture of blood flows within my veins? Do you know what boils within my body? Would you be able to tell what I'm made up of if my heart drains? Can you understand how long it has taken me to understand the identity that most my age seemed to have been born with? And even questioning where I came from was taken as an insult, as some sort of an attempt to deny it. But know this, you wouldn't know the feeling of holding your father's hand and to be taken for a bitch, or the boggled eyes when he says you're his firstborn, staring as if you were a witch. And suddenly, the resemblance would dawn on them as if some sort of an epiphany, and all of a sudden they approve of my name. Heck, I could even earn a Tiffany. Oh no, trust me, you have no clue where I come from, and yet you still think I should change what's mine. It has been given to me, so what's it to you if it had been a thread, a dot, or a line? Put my name to the side, and I'll let you decide where you put me in this world of ours. Born of half this and half that, from a quarter this and a quarter that, after a labor that took hours. A mother that moved halfway across the country to start a family of her own, integrated but not fully into a family halfway away from half her own. Born into a confused circle of green eyes, wide noses on a white body, body, kinky black hair, and a white face with sparkling brown eyes like you haven't seen on anybody. A range of European and Ethiopian names, and they were all siblings, an aggregation of half-privileged, half-discouraged, ugly ducklings. And that is only my father's side, to which my temper and my name choose to abide. Half of the full story that would take a lifetime if you were to take me on a ride. The other half of half the story started with a blood that's a quarter Middle Eastern. Half the family with Ethiopian names, dark soft hair, which made it hard for most to discern. Muslim and Christian ancestry that still make it difficult for me to choose a group. So I choose not to choose, because choice itself will bring me back into a loop. So think halfway more than twice before you decide what my name should be. Actually think twice before you think that you know me, because I'm still discovering the path for this lost girl inside. I'm trying to help her forget some of the rejection for which she had cried. And that was that. And my last one is in my mother tongue. So the title, I can't say title, but you know, it's about friendship. And I'll explain when I go through the English of this poem, but let me read it in Amharic first. ጓደኛ አለሽ ጓደኛ አለህ ምንጊዜም ሲጠራ የሚመጣ የኔ ሰው የት አለ እንደ እናት አስታሞ እንደ አያት የሚያጎርስ እንደ አባት ወዶ እንደ ወንድም እህት የሚያስብስ ሚስጥር የሚሸፍን ለውነት የሚገዛ ድክመቶችን አውቆ ፍቅርን የሚያበዛ ስምን አቆላምጦ ከመጥራት ባሻገር ሞት ፊት የሚቆምም የሚሻገር ሀገር ጓደኛ የት አለ የጓደኛ ማን ይሆን የታል ጓደኛዬ የልብን የሚያነብ የኔን እንደራሴ ማን ነው የኔዬ ሰላም ሲሆን ብቻ ሁሉም አልጋ ባልጋ አለ የሚመካ አለ የሚወድም ሌሊት እስኪነጋ ሆኖም ቀን ያልፍና ፀሐይ ጠልቃ ወጣ ነገር ሲበለሻሽ ፊቱን የሚያዞር ነው ወይስ ችግሩን የሚያብስ ጓደኛዬ ትዬ የፍቅር ሳትሆን የእህት የወንድም ቡና አጥቦ ወቅጦ ከሽቶ አብልጦ ስም የሚያስገርም የኔ ጓደኛዬ የኔን ጓዳ ከኔ ለኔ አብልጦ የሚያውቅ ድብቁን ጢስ ቤትም እንደ ቤቱ አይቶ ከራስ የሚያስታርቅ ጓደኛዬ ለኔ ከኔ በላይ ለኔ ሩቅ የሚያስብ በደስታ ደስታ እና በለቅሶ ማልቀስን ከልብ በዚህም ዘመን ግን ጓደኛ ቀረና ጓደኛ ሆኖ ቀረ ስሙ ጠበቀና ወግወጉ ተይዞ ጓዳው ግን ጠቆረ ከንፈር ተሽሟጠጠ ወሬ ከጆሮ ጆሮ ተሽከረከረ ዞሮ ዞሮ ሲያበቃ ተመልሶ ወደኔው ጆሮ ደረሰና ስሚማ ልንገርሽ ጓደኛ የለሽም ጓደኛ ሸታለና የሁሉም ሆድቃ የሚስጥር ማሳርገሽ መቼ ልታጭጁ ነው የሰው ሆድ እንደሆን በቃኝን አያውቅም የሰውም የሰው ነው ዛሬ የቆመ እግር ነገ ሊንበረከክ ትላንት አይዘልምና ጓዳው ሳይጨልምም ጢስ በጢስ ሳይሆን በአንድ እጅ ይቆጠር ያለው የራስ ሰው So that was the poem in Amharic, the last one. It's often really hard to translate word for word poems in Amharic, but basically the word friendship or friend in Amharic it can be used both ways, or in two ways rather. So you have the word ጓደኛ, which we now use, which means friend, but then to pronounce the middle letter lightly, like I did in the poem, and say ጓደኛ instead, implies someone that knows the backside of your house. So technically, we've got two kitchens traditionally, and the guada is it's basically like a smokehouse. It's where all the main cooking is done, and then food is taken to the upper kitchen to warm up whenever guests come. So only people that know you personally and that are family almost know that smokehouse. And so that's where the word originates from as well. So a friend is supposed to be someone that knows that smokehouse. But today, in today's world, everybody's become a friend, especially with social media and acquaintances and everything. And it feels like we've kind of lost our definition of what true friendship is. And so the poem explores, do we call friends the friends that know each of our secrets and that hide them for us? Or are they people that will then sometimes abuse some of these secrets that they know about us? And that's what I had for today. Oh, I can hear oh, thank you so much. I'm humbled. It's really weird reading into the void like this and then to just hear the claps. It's heartwarming. Thank
I was
you.
hoping you would hear that, yes.
I heard it.
We all truly appreciated what reminded me rhythmically and from the strength of it and the energy of like beat poetry in America. Has that ever been an influence?
It has. I started writing poetry when I was about 6, but when I started writing poetry then, it wasn't as passionate. I really loved poetry since they made us, sing those songs in primary school. But I started writing the kind of poetry that I'm writing now when I was about 12 after listening to Eminem. So
Okay.
it's very odd when I tell people my biggest influence and inspiration is Eminem. I just absolutely, I was mind blown by how he was using words and how he was making them rhyme and how he was cutting them up. And I wanted to be a chef like him, basically. And that's how I started writing.
All right, but Eminem only knows one language, and I know that you are fluent in at least 4, 5, or 6 languages. Can you tell us a little bit about how does the flow go, and how do these languages influence each other? I know you're writing in French as well.
Yeah, it's very difficult because sometimes I can't remember if I was telling you this the other day or if it was to someone else, but sometimes it depends on what side of the bed I wake up on, because even if I speak all these languages, I could wake up one morning and just not speak English anymore. And it's very odd because you'll find me in a meeting with my colleagues and all of a sudden I don't have the words in English. And they don't understand when I say, oh, like I can't speak English today. But for me to explain that better, it's almost like there are compartments in my brain, almost like drawers, and sometimes one of those languages will stay shut, and it's another language in my brain that functions for that day. And it's the same thing when I write poetry. I'll find myself writing poems for like a couple of days straight in English or in Amharic or in French, and then the other side just won't function. And sometimes I mix them up as well. I don't have it with me now, but there's a poem I wrote in Amharic where I mix in a few English words, and there's another poem in English I wrote where I mix in Amharic words just for the alliterations, just for the sound. But when you're not in a crowd that understands both languages, it's very difficult. So yeah, I think I don't know if I answered your question though, did I?
Yes, you did, of course. The story is much more interesting than answering the question that you related. You're sort of stranded in London right now. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, just a little bit. So I should have left in July back to Nairobi. And then at the time, it was in the middle of the lockdown, but then the project hadn't finished. So we ended up extending my project until January of 2021.
So that's for the BBC as well?
Yes, so I am a BBC journalist. Initially started off working for the Horn of Africa Services, mainly focusing on Ethiopia and Eritrea. Right now, my patch of land has slightly grown, so main focus being East Africa, but the whole continent as a whole.
Okay, so I think you explained a lot through your poetry and through your comments in between. So I'm sort of out of questions other than the political situation in Ethiopia, that we sort of don't hear anything anymore about this. Do you feel it's like a dangerous situation right now, or has it calmed down? The conflicts between the different, ethnicities?
Yeah, again, Ethiopia is a very complex country, mainly because we're not talking about one or two ethnic groups. We're talking about at least 86, so 80 plus ethnic groups in a country with limited resources. So it does sound like the emphasis has been put on a lot of the ethnic clashes, but deep down, when you cut down the problem, it's really about poverty, right? It's a landlocked country with 114 million people, and we don't have enough infrastructure, may it be physical or soft infrastructure. And the one percenters exist in Ethiopia as well. So a lot of the wealth is accumulated and aggregated in the hands of a very small group of people, and it circulates in that same circle. If you don't have access network to that, to those people, it's hard to get a job. Job creation is also a problem. And so when we're talking about the clashes in Ethiopia, we need to tackle the issue from different aspects as well. Our biggest percentage of the population is the youth, so from 18 years of age to 35 years of age, and they are the ones that are now at the age of being employed. And so at this age, if you don't have work, then you'll idle, and idle, you know what they say about idle hands and idle minds. And so it's a multifaceted problem for which the solutions are plenty. And when you have, ethnic clashes, and when you have, sudden deaths like the prominent Oromo singer Hachalu Hundessa in June, it doesn't help the situation at all. And other than that, it's really also about, it's a power struggle.
Well, that's what usually is behind ethnic conflicts. They usually boil down to some other conflict.
Exactly.
That's
and
what
it's really
one
power
suspects.
struggles. It's people, it's big dogs trying to get,
But it seems that poetry poetry is a big issue in Ethiopia. What I've seen there's compared to our situations here, there's huge crowds attending, and you yourself are organizing poetry events. You've been doing so for quite a while. I happened to be at one in Addis a while back. And that's where I first learned about this whole poetry world that we don't know about, and that's what our little focus here is all about. And we thank you so much for giving us some insight.
No, thank you so much for this platform as well. And you're right, because when we're talking about poetry for Ethiopia, it didn't start with the young people my age that started these platforms. Poetry in Ethiopia has always been used. The Azmaris, the traditional musicians of the court of the emperors and the kings, used to use poetry to tackle society's issues. They used to talk about the issues of the community by using poetry, but by making the crowds laugh about things that they should actually be thinking about. So poetry has always been used traditionally in the country. And to see that, because sadly now a lot of these traditional poetry scenes have disappeared because of development. High-rise buildings are being built instead of those, and the only remaining one true to its identity would be the Fandika Cultural Center, which is where we host our Poetic Saturdays every first Saturday of the month. And so Fandika preserved that, but it's really great to see, poetry scenes like Tobia, like our own Poetic Saturdays, kind of like coming up and rallying, bringing the tradition with the new, and talking about these issues in our communities that we want to tackle, that we want to change, because it's really more about working together than, I don't know, making it in this world on our own.
Right, so we're actually looking forward to Sunday after your presentation of the Tobia Jazz, which is going to be a longer thing with a lot of poets. I've heard they sent us some films, and I invite everybody to join us on Sunday, not only for the Ethiopian focus, but for the other focuses as well. Have a look at our program. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you so much for having me, Cal. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Be in touch. Bye.